So in this activity, hopefully you've been able to log into Graspable Math using your BCSC username password. This program is called Graspable Math. It's written by a couple of professors from IU. The purpose of this activity is to provide you an opportunity to understand how to algebraically come up with a long-run value. So in other words, if I had put 300 in here and multiply it by 0.6, and then add 30 to that, and then if I take that answer and then multiply by 0.6, add 30, and if I keep doing it over and over again, what answer are we approaching? And I've demonstrated this idea with a spreadsheet over the last couple of class periods. Now we're going to actually look at how do we actually calculate that value using some algebra. So the one thing I need you to understand is that if I would do the spreadsheet, if I would do this problem over and over and over again, and if there is a long-run value, if there's a number that this graph is approaching, the difference between u of n and u of n minus 1 is going to get so close to each other that even your calculator at some point is just not going to see a difference between the two answers, even though there might be a very, very small difference. It's just that the answers are just so close that your calculator may not even be able to distinguish a difference in the answers. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because the way we approach this problem is that we're going to let u of n and u of n minus 1 actually equal the same thing in an effort to figure out what is that number that this sequence is approaching. So to do that, we're going to replace u of n and u of n minus 1 with the same variable. So we're going to be solving all the problems over here by clicking on the square, and we're going to replace the square with the same variable. Now, your textbook uses the letter C, so I'm just going to type C from my keyboard and hit enter, and I'm done. I'm going to replace both squares with the letter C. I hope that when you look at this now, this looks a lot like the getting started problems. We're trying to solve for the value of C to see where this is approaching. So as I mentioned in the last video, and the same is true here, if the Graspable Math program isn't working for you, you can just do the problems on your own paper as the problems come up here in Graspable Math, and you can solve them that way. Otherwise, I would prefer that you solve them using the program, so I have a record that you have actually completed the problems. The most challenging part is the next step. So as we did with the getting started problem, we want to get the C terms on the same side. So if I left click on the 0.6 and I drag it, unfortunately the C doesn't come with it. So there's two ways to do this. Number one would be just kind of shake the mouse back and forth, or the 0.6, move it, and hopefully in doing that the C will eventually attach itself to the 0.6 as you just saw. The other option would be if you would hold the mouse button down, the shift key down, and click on 0.6 and click on the C so they're both highlighted as a blue, and then release the shift key and then left click again and drag it, and both the 0.6 and the C will go together because they're both highlighted in blue. So two options of doing that. Anyway, we're going to move this to the other side of the equation. We can put it on the right, the left side of C or the right side of C. That vertical bar is telling you on what side you're placing it. So I'll place it on the right side of C, so we're going to have C minus 0.6C. And as we did with the getting started problem, we're going to subtract those two things, like taking $1 minus 60 cents, and we end up with 4/10 C. And then from here we're going to do a division problem. So we're going to divide both sides by 0.4. So I bring the 0.4 over to the other side, you're going to see the fraction bar. So if I release the mouse, it's going to make a fraction out of it. To do the division key or problem, you always have to double click on the fraction bar. So if I double click on it, the answer is 75. So if I would do this problem over and over again, the answer is going to approach 75. So 75 would be considered the long run value or the limit. So our sequence will never get to 75, but it will get extremely close to it. So when you're done with the problem, click on Submit. Right now the blue is up here is indicating you've started the problem, it's worked at it, and then by clicking Submit it'll turn it to green saying that you've completed it. So the steps here are the same for the long run value. So I'm going to to encourage you to turn the video off and try to do the second problem, and then watch the video at any point to check your work or if you need additional assistance. All right, so the second problem, we're trying to figure out if I start 10,000 and if I multiply by 0.79 and then add 3/5 repeatedly, what answer is this going to be approaching? So left click on the square, replace it with the letter C. And click on the square again, replace it with C. So we're trying to figure out if I assume that U of n minus 1 are the same numbers, what numbers is this sequence approaching? So I'm going to go ahead and do it the second way. I'm going to pull the 0.79 out here, and I'm going to do them shake it on my mouse key, and then you notice I attached it. I'm going to subtract it, and what we end up with is 0.21c. Divide both sides by 21 hundredths. Again, it's a fraction, you double click in the fraction bar. And so this sequence is approaching 1,666 and 2/3. That's our long run value. So in the problems you're going to be doing next, you're going to basically replace the U of n and U of n with the letter C. So in your own paper, the next set of problems, in your instrument account, you're going to basically just take these two things here, U of n minus 1, and replace them with C, so that the equation will end up looking like this. And then you're going to just simply go through the steps, the side of this equation, like the getting started problems. So this one here, we're going to subtract 0.12c from both sides. And sometimes you might get a negative answer, and hopefully what ends up happening is not only this number negative, but the number on the other side is also negative, so that when you divide them, you actually get a positive answer. So we end up with that this sequence actually is a growth, and it is approaching 200. And then for the last problem, again, replacing U of n and U of n minus 1 both with the letter C. This one here we're subtracting more than we actually have on the other side, so again we're going to get another net answer. And then undo the multiplication with division. Double click on the equals or the fraction bar, and so this one is approaching 200. So this one's a decay. So in the next lesson, here you're going to apply what we just did in the graspable math with 4 problems right here, where you're looking for that long run value. So again, U of n minus 1 both get replaced with the letter C, and then we solve for the value of C, which is our long run value.